I scaled my own agency to 7 figures per year, and at this point, I've seen my partners and friends do the same time and time again. And the thing that we all had in common was a good niche. In this video, I'm going to break down the characteristics that all good agency niches share and show you how to pick one that's going to allow you to hit 7 figures per year. For context, my name is John Danes. I'm the founder at agencyclients.com. I closed 771 clients with my first agency, and now I work one-on-one with agency owners who want to scale. You can find more information about that in the description below, but without further ado, let's dive into how to find a good niche. So look, the riches are in the niches. My $100 million agency mentor, Judge Graham, he told me this very early on. So look, when you get specific with your agency, everything gets easier, and that's really the only way to build an agency that runs without you. So to zoom out for a second, understanding this is extremely important because specificity is how you get leverage. When you're specific, your marketing and your sales become so much easier. And really, when you start to do sales activities and marketing activities like outreach or ads or content, the first question you really want to ask yourself is, who am I talking to? And the more specific the answer to that question is, the better. And look, you can hit 6 figures per year without niching down. I've seen a few people do it, but leverage, systems that run marketing, sales, and fulfillment without you, which is really what leverage is impossible if you don't pick a niche. So if you have no niche, that turns into no systems, which ultimately equals no freedom. And there's no single winner. Like, this is not a video where I'm going to tell you some magical niche. I don't believe in that, but there are principles. So some niches just honestly work far better than others, and the difference comes to really a handful of rules that apply to all of the successful and winning niches. And the niches that don't work so well fail to honestly follow these principles. And so you have to also understand, no market is saturated, okay? So a lot of people are very afraid of saturation, but in the market and in any market, there is always room for a better solution. And so right now, everybody is switching from ChatGPT and OpenAI to Anthropic and Claude. But OpenAI and ChatGPT beat Claude to the market by years. And now people are switching to Claude in droves. So what does that tell you? That tells you that in a crowded market, there is always room for a better solution. And a lot of times, a crowded niche is a sign of life and a sign that this niche is good and that this niche has buying power. And a lot of times when I see a niche that's empty and there's not a lot of people playing in it, I'll look at it and say, hey, this might be a good niche, and I don't see any players in that niche, I actually start to ask myself, what's wrong with this niche? And so look, if you plan to dial in client acquisition, which you're gonna need to do regardless, if you're gonna hit 7 figures a year, you're gonna have to have good client acquisition. An unsaturated niche shouldn't scare you. I scaled my agency with the most saturated niche that there is literally on the planet. And the crazy part is that my niche really faced the Pareto principle, which means that 20% of realtors did 80% of the business. So that means that although there was tons of realtors in my niche, there's actually only a small, kind of 1/5 subset who was doing the majority of the business. And there's literally billion-dollar players like Zillow that are playing in the real estate space. So the challenge for me, I couldn't really go out and compete with Zillow. Like, if I offered the same thing as Zillow, I had basically no money when I started, and Zillow is a multi-billion-dollar company with a B. Well, I can't just compete with Zillow and try to do the same thing and try to sell the same thing as them. I had to make my agency look new, better, and different. And so having competitors actually helped me because I was able to differentiate myself so much against them and look nothing like them. So in a lot of ways, I was able to kind of throw stones at Zillow, and actually having this big multi-billion-dollar competitor actually helped me because I was able to say, like, hey, look, we don't do all the things that Zillow does. We're new. We have a new method. We have a new approach. Zillow is the old way. We're like the new way. And so actually having competitors helped me a lot because a lot of people in my niche had already been burned by Zillow, had already disliked Zillow, and I was able to differentiate myself and position myself like way far away from them. So although there's a lot of realtors, and at the end of the day, like only 20% of the realtors are doing 80% of the business, this actually helped me because I'm in a big niche, I'm in a saturated niche, there's a lot happening in the niche, but at the end of the day, there's these big companies and I'm able to position myself far away from them, and that helped me quite a lot. So there's 4 specific things that I look for. I kind of run each niche through a filter. This is something that I do with partners, and so it's really 4 specific criteria. First and foremost is a minimum of $2,500 per deal. Number 2 is that they're easy to find. Number 3 is that they work on a lead gen model. And number 4 is that they have a sizable TAM. And so if you can hit all 4 of these, the niche is going to be a good niche. So let's start with the first, which is that they make at least $2,500 per deal. If the niche doesn't make money, it's really hard for them to justify paying you thousands of dollars, right? Ideally, that's $2,500 in profit, right? So that they're making $2,500 in profit, and that's upfront as well. So like when the sale closes, right? So ideally, this is upfront and this is in profit. Lifetime value can be okay too, but most businesses just can't justify losing money now to make money later, so LTV is really hard. So as an example, let's say you work with a business and they make $100 up front, but their lifetime value is like $2,500. Well, most businesses can't afford to lose money or lose lots of money on that upfront sale to make it back in the future. So ideally, you're finding a niche that has $2,500 in profit and they're collecting that upfront. Now, if you're working with a business that has multiple price points, that's totally okay too. All you want to do is find their highest ticket offer and their highest ticket price point, and then just become an expert in helping them sell that. So as an example, this is why you see a lot of dental implant and veneer agencies. This is why you don't see many agencies serving the dental niche that are like, hey, we'll help you get more cleaning cases, because dentists don't really make any money off cleaning cases. Or for lawyers, you'll see personal injury cases. These are high value deals for these types of clients. And so this is, if you're serving these niches, the kind of deals that you want to help them do, so they can obviously justify paying you more. You also want to be able to find the owner fast, okay? So if you go to LinkedIn right now and you just search up the word attorney and then you filter by people, you're going to find them literally everywhere. So if you're scaling to 7 figures a year, you're probably going to have to run outbound, and outbound really needs you to be able to identify the owner online, not just the business. So anybody that's doing outbound right now has probably been able to see, if you reach out to the business directly, response rates are really bad. And so I actually recommend all my partners who are doing outreach or have their VAs doing outreach to not reach out to the businesses directly, because most times it's just a waste of time. So you want to be able to find the owner. So as an example, a life insurance broker, as a specific example, actually benefits from putting on the internet that they're a life insurance broker. Whereas a restaurant, on the other hand, a restaurant owner has really no benefit to putting out online that they own a restaurant. So the life insurance broker makes money by being easy to find. The restaurant owner, on the other hand, probably does not. Now, the third thing is that they sell off a lead gen model. This is extremely important, even if you're not even doing lead gen, and I'll explain why in just a second, and not like a walk-in type of sale. So a sit-down meeting selling a high ticket item, in person or virtual, is a non-negotiable. So these are the type of clients that you want to work with. Those who do a sit down meeting, whether in person or on the phone, to sell the customer on their service. So a restaurant, as an example, is really hard to work with for this reason, because you just walk in, you sit down, and you buy a low ticket item. And so you want to be able to make your client money. That's really important. If you're not making your clients money, then they're not going to be able to justify paying you. But almost more importantly than making them money, you need to be able to prove that you made them money, which is almost impossible to do if you work with a client that just has like a walk-in kind of offer. So without a lead generation model, the tracking absolutely falls apart, and expensive things normally are sold in meetings anyway. So this kind of goes hand in hand with filter number 1, because normally when somebody's selling something that's more than $2,500, you're having a walk-in kind of lead gen model anyway. But this is a pretty important characteristic as well. Number 4 is a sizable TAM, but it matters less than you actually think. So this is important to an extent, but somebody like Alex Hormozi, who built Gym Launch to $50 or $60 million a year, worked with CrossFit gyms specifically, and that's not a big vertical. So gyms in and of themselves is not a very big niche, but CrossFit gyms is even smaller. But a bigger niche does give you more room, but you don't need to go like microscopic. So as an example, I had a friend who did holistic health clinics. I know I talked about that example earlier. That's kind of a small niche. There's like less than 10,000, I believe, in America. So it's kind of a hard niche to break into because there's just so few. But as an example, there is kind of one specific exception. Let's say that's a tiny niche like the holistic doctors, but you have a case study, and a big case study, with the #1 name in that industry. Like, I don't know who the #1 holistic doctor in the United States is, but as an example, if you had that person as a case study and they got like insane results, that would probably be worth pursuing, because you have an unfair advantage in that niche. And this is also an important thing. If you have an unfair advantage or something that makes you unique, that's the niche that you want to be in. So if your niche fits those 4 criteria, the most important thing, and really the best piece of advice I could give you in this video, is that you pick it and stick with it. So when you pick a niche, your goal really should be to establish yourself as the go-to agency in that niche. And the more outreach, the more ads that you run, the more clients that you close, the more that compounds. Because you start to build for yourself a reputation in that niche, which obviously can have bad effects if you're doing bad things or not getting clients good results. But if you're getting clients good results and you're closing lots of clients and you're running lots of ads and people are seeing you, you start to become the go-to player in that niche. And when you switch niches, all of that progress gets lost. So the hard truth of this is, if your niche that you're currently in right now ticks all of these boxes and you can't get clients, it has nothing to do with the niche and everything to do with you. And so I will talk to people all the time that'll say, you know, John, I just don't know about my niche. And I'll say, cool, well, what's a niche? Real estate agents. Well, I closed 771 clients in the real estate niche. So it's not the real estate niche that's the problem, it's you that's the problem. And you need to remind yourself that there has likely been a 7-figure agency in basically every niche that there is. Right? I just talked about CrossFit gyms. Alex Hormozi made like $100 million in that niche. And so what most people might call a bad niche or like a saturated niche or this niche is dead, you know, you'll hear people say, that's normally just an inability to get clients at scale. And what I have seen is if somebody can't get clients in one niche, they normally can't get clients in another. And then the inverse of that is also true. If you can get clients in one niche and you've shown yourself to be able to succeed in one niche, you're probably going to be able to go and get clients in another niche. So a lot of this has to do with skills. So one thing that is extremely important when it comes to picking a niche and sticking with it is to get inside of your prospect's head and then from there get inside to your competitors and rivals. So the questions that you want to figure out with your market are questions like, what keeps them awake at night? What are their fears and their desires? What have they tried before? How exactly do they make money? Like, what is the model that they are compensated with? Like real estate agents, as an example, they have a percentage of the home sale that they take, and then they normally pay a split with their broker. So like that's their exact financial model. You need to understand this about your niche. How do they make money? When do they make money? What's the process? How does it all work? You need to ask the question, what do they do now that they hate doing? It's an extremely important question. What drives and motivates them, and what have they heard before? Like, what claims have they heard before by other companies? And then you need to also figure out your competition. Like, it just shocks me how little people are willing to do this. You need to understand who are your direct competitors, like who are the other agencies with kind of similar or adjacent service to you, who's the indirect competitors, right? Like coaches, software, these people are competing for your same clients. They may not sell the same thing that you sell, but they are absolutely competing after your clients, like coaches and softwares and other businesses. So what claims do they make? What are the common themes? What do the good reviews say online? What do the bad reviews say online? And what can you do differently? And look, like most agency owners, they just completely skip this, and then they wonder why a sales call feels like they're talking to a complete stranger. So the beautiful thing about this is it's one of those things that you do once that drives so much results. And if you watch any other videos on the channel, you'll see that I am a huge fan of these kind of moves because you just get outsized returns from doing them. So this market research that you're going to be doing, both the research on your prospects and your competitors, fuels literally all of your messaging and positioning. So you're going to do this one time and it's going to continue to pay you forever. And then when you get on sales calls and you have more sales calls, you're also going to validate or invalidate, honestly, some of the ideas that you've had. So the more of your prospects and the more of your clients that you get the opportunity to talk to, this is going to become better and sharper and better and sharper. And so think about it like fishing. You need to know what fish you're going after so you can then know the bait. If you don't know what type of fish that you're fishing for or what body of water you're going to be fishing in, then you don't know what kind of bait you're going to be fishing with. So when you would show up to that body of water, let's say the lake as an example, you wouldn't try to figure that out right when you get to the lake, otherwise you would waste the whole day. So you need to know the fish that you're going after, and then that's going to allow you to know the bait that you need to use. So that really is the whole game of picking a niche. You have to first remember, no market is saturated. If there is competition in the market, that is a sign of life. That is not a reason to run. There is always room in the market for good solutions. You just have to make your solution new, better, and different, just like I talked about with the real estate example. You have to run your niche through those 4 filters, which is a $2,500 plus deal, ideally more, by the way, in upfront cash and in profit. They need to be easy to find. They need to work a lead gen model, and they need to have a sizable total addressable market. You need to hit all 4 of those. You need to pick it, and you need to stick with it. If it fits these 4 criteria and you can't get clients, trust me, it is not the niche, it is you. And then you need to do that research both on your market and your competitors, because that's going to drive your messaging, your positioning, and every piece of material for marketing and sales that you put out over the course of your entire agency. And that, my friend, allows you to be the go-to. That's it for the training. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want my one-on-one help scaling your agency, where I'm going to work one-on-one with you and install all of the systems that I use to close 771 agency clients, I take them and install them directly into your agency for positioning, for offer, appointment setting, sales, and fulfillment. I work one-on-one with you to install all of those systems directly into your agency and guarantee your results. Click the first link in the description or go to agencyclients.com. You can also connect with me on Instagram and DM me with any questions at John Grows Agencies. I'll see you in the next one.